Welcome back, everyone, to Context for Chaos, and this is part 2 of Corinna Rosella's 2023 interview. Enjoy. What you said about anthropology, it's an applied study, that is recognizing that tarot is, I mean, if you look at it like the alphabet, it can be anything, you know, it's not a fixed thing. It's actually best if you know what your angle is, or if you know what your energy is for it, you know, because then the person who needs you will know they need you. This is kind of also our way of making sure that you know what you're getting when you come to us. Because if you want somebody who is more, let's say, along the, I don't know, I'm not gonna say traditional, but like, let's say what we kind of imagine them to be, which is, I have a question about, you know, when I'm going to get married and, you know, how many children I'm going to have, and, you know, things that are a bit more traditional, you know, it's just like old world maybe, because that's really what was so, it's still important now, but there's so many people now that can do so many different things and be so many different things that we aren't as limited in the way that we can read anymore. And so people are recognizing that they have an addiction, or they have a problem, or they need to be talked to by somebody that can get in there and not just, you know, tell them it's a Band-Aid kind of statement, or, you know, try to get more money out of them, or, you know, because that's a lot of times what people, when you come to somebody who's like a cycle breaker, you can be fooled, because you are at a state of desperation. Most likely you are in a state of I just need some answers. So to have somebody like you who's so outspoken about who you are as a tarot reader, the things that you offer, it just gives, you know, the right person, or the person who really needs you, a big old neon sign that's like, I need to understand where I'm, you know, sabotaging myself, where I need to forgive myself, the realities of what I'm experiencing in a more relatable way than just, you know, not even just, but like sometimes the only thing we usually can find, which is maybe other people who kind of understand us, but somebody like you who's also, they're giving you permission to see them in that vulnerable state, and to open their psychology or their mind up to your interpretation, and to your, maybe your reframing, and maybe your just whatever it is you offer them that hopefully pulls a little bit off their heart, right? So I think that's exactly on topic.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for saying that. I want to make it clear to everybody that I'm a work in progress. A lot of what I teach are things that I'm still learning. And I think there's something that really frustrates me and has frustrated me for many, many years, is the kind of like spiritual ego and spiritual narcissism that comes up with people that claim to be healers. You know, I don't even want to say claim,
Amen.
maybe they have that. Yeah. But I think there's the idea of like, it's such a fragile egg to help people heal, because they really, it's not even like I'm healing anyone. It's like you will become a catalyst for them reaching within themselves and finding that power that they have to heal themselves. Because we're all just, the only mission that we have in life is to like be a human, you know, like we're not really. And I think like, you know, as a former social worker, I think in my younger years I fell very much into a trap of like, I don't like myself and I feel like I'm a bad person. But if I go and help all these other people, I can get validation from that and feel better about myself. And the truth of the matter is like, the only way to heal is to, you know, heal yourself. You can't heal the world around you. And like and feel better about like your own wounding. Like the only way to get through those wounds is to go into them. Not do nice things for someone else to feel bad about your own like misgivings or whatever. So that is a thing that I'm very sensitive to. I'm very sensitive to when I hear people um utilize a lot of like spiritual ego type language, because and we know that those, a lot of those people end up doing massive amounts of harm.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, well, it's like, I think you even saying that you have a panel of people because you want to make sure that not only are you not confronted, because that's not the purpose of it, but that your opinion is well rounded or rounded out by other people's opinions. As long as everybody has probably a general stance of wanting to do good for society, and everything else is
Yeah.
probably free game. And that is not, you can't have a narcissistic ego in that type of situation. You have to have a communal ego, or at least a humble enough ego. And you're absolutely right. I think that probably the fastest way to tell when we've got a narcissistic ego in the room is the second somebody says, my way is the way. And that just doesn't even make any sense. I mean, it's something you probably maybe have wanted to hear, meaning you in a general sense, like somebody saying, oh, do what I tell you to do, right? Because that's what religion is based on. It's like, do as I tell you to do, and you will achieve or receive the things that you're looking for. And a lot of that is healing, because a lot of people are in a lot of emotional pain and, mental pain, no matter how, at the upper echelon, some of them. I mean, how many of these people keep, off in themselves that have absolutely everything, you know what I mean? Or what we would perceive to be absolutely everything. So you're absolutely right. It's very good that we not only stay humble in the sense that we do not know everything. That's not what a psychic's job really is. I think a psychic's job is to be whatever the person needs that you're willing to give. And, if you are a person who feels really connected to a certain perspective of life, then that's going to be an easy flow for you. If you're a person who likes to let people come to you in all sorts of ways, that's going to be an easy flow for you. But that's actually something I mean, I don't know exactly how I'm going to incorporate it, but over time, it's like, I like off shooting people. I'm like, if I can see a trauma, I probably don't know how to heal it, but I can see it.
Mhm.
And if I can see it, then I have a list of people, or a list of books, or a list of, whatever I've found that I can say, you might want to check this out, instead of saying, come back to me. And if you would like to come back to me, you can, but I'm probably not the way anymore. Maybe you needed this conversation to realize, oh, that is probably something that's affecting me more than I want to admit. Or I didn't realize, like, one thing I tell a lot of people about is EMDR. A lot of people don't know about EMDR, and it's like that right there is like just having somebody. I don't need to be psychic to tell you you probably need EMDR, like, or if you have trauma that you can't remember, or like you have like circumstances or happenings you can't remember or access. So like, it's so important to just be an empathetic person on top of, if you have to go further and further. So I completely agree. And I also just think that you bringing that and pushing that to the forefront, making sure people know that, is probably why you also had a lot of people come to you in 2020, because there's a lack of humility, or at least displayed, because it's not what we consider to be powerful in some way, or executive.
Yeah, and that's interesting. And I got to thinking with some of the things you said, because I do think like one of the reasons I don't go by Rise of Good Witch anymore, I gave the podcast away, is while I don't think that I've ever been a person with a spiritual ego, I do think that I had like a social justice ego. And I made all those memes that were really popular. And now honestly, I can't imagine even making a meme, because I'm like, oh, why did I feel that because like a traumatic thing happened in the so-called United States, like a police murder or like an encampment on the border or something, why do I think that a meme with my hot take is like such an important thing to do? And I know a lot of people have been like, I feel like maybe I'm an anarchist because of reading what you wrote, or like, I feel like I've learned a lot about like how my privilege shows up. And that's great. But I also was like, I don't want, like, I say a lot. I always said, like, I'm not positioning myself as an expert, but you have to look at the way your actions line up with your words. And I really have had to do that. And I love being a teacher, and I think that I'm a good teacher. I think that's like a skill that I just have. Like, I think it's like a gift that I have. So I want to do it. But then I'm always, as a teacher, again, recognizing it's that egg. It's a responsibility. I love talking about court cards. And because it's hard for people, a lot of people are really confused about court cards. Um, and I was thinking about this today because I'm a shop owner now, and even like when I taught Tarot School for Liberation, I remember being like, okay, Corinna, you have to level up to king now. You can't be acting like a knight when because I think
Yes.
yeah, like I think it's a problem with a lot of the leadership we see in the society. Did 45 act like a no, like he acted like a knight, always getting triggered, always reactive, like doing things to harm other people because his ego was wounded. That's knight behavior. And when you get more access in society, whether that be cultural influence or actual like wealth and power, you have a responsibility to be in the king energy. And what I mean by that is you have the responsibility to kind of like hold down the fort and like put your insecurities on the back burner, because you can't have your insecurities be like, you can't be like having them run the show. That's a knight behavior. And the king is supposed to be mentoring the knight to be like, we don't do that, because eventually the knight will be the king.
And the king is self-actualized, right? So
Yeah.
it doesn't have anything to prove anymore.
Right.
It's just that's when I looked at court cards like maturity levels, it really opened it up for me. I mean, I still see it in so many other ways as well, but with the majority of questions that people have that people ask me, if it's subjective or if it's spiritual or something, like, it's so much easier to look at this as you're going through a maturing process, but at the same time each process is really important. But exactly like what you said, where are you in life and what court card is coming up? If you are in a king position, but a knight keeps coming up, you might want to look at how you're handling yourself or how you're, and that's that calling out, like you said. It's like, well, this is the energy of an immature, be it confident and trying to self-actualize, pushing themselves to be something more, but it's still in that immature way. So I want to go back to Tarot School for Liberation. Like, I know, let me pull this apart for people, because I said Tarot School for Liberation, and then literally right after that, I said Three of Pentacles. So Three of Pentacles is what's going on right now for 10 months through 2023. Tarot School for Liberation you had from 2020 to 2022. You may be reviving it. You're considering it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to go a little bit into that because you wrote how you kind of see some of these cards in the way we've been talking about in this sort of mental liberation, or even like, I love that you're also saying that it's not just liberation of like this is where the man is keeping you down, but it's also like, this is where you're keeping you down, honey. Like, you keeping you this both, like, you're part of this. Like, I had that was one of my dark night of the soul realizations. The liberator for me was, it doesn't matter, like, it matters what happened to you, because I had traumatizing past. It matters. It's not that it doesn't matter, but it doesn't mean that you are not a part of your everyday life. You still are, I had night energy, right? I was acting out because I didn't want what's the word? Like, I don't think I really wanted my trauma to go away. I don't think I knew who I was without it. I didn't think I could be a king. I didn't think I could be a queen. I didn't even think I could be a nurturing person or nurture anything. It was just, all I thought I could be was chaotic. And until I, came to that, one of those, many mirrors that we come to with Dark Nights of the Soul. That was one of the ones from Saturn Return too. Right? Like, it was just like, you're, whatever you think you are in your mind, whatever, whatever's going on back here or whatever's going on in the future, whatever, you're still here every single day. And every single day, it's either getting compounded or it's getting healed every single day. And that depends on what you put out in the world. It's not just what comes at you. It's what you do, So what do you do with the thing that comes at you? King of Cups. What do you do You know, when everybody else is, you know, it needs you emotionally, are you able to be that person? Are you able to have a vision, you know, that you can work towards in terms of pentacles maybe, or a vision you can be excited about in terms of wands? You know, like how do you kind of be the executive of your own life? And it was just very scary for me because what if I couldn't do it? What if I couldn't, you know, what if I couldn't handle that? What if I would crumble underneath all that pressure? And that's like, I'm hearing it now. I was not hearing it back then. The Knights don't hear that. It's
Yeah.
not, there's no voice. There wasn't even a voice with shadow work. I bet you've had that experience too. It's like the healing process is so quiet. It's so quiet that, like, I'd say 90% of my healing process, I can speak it out loud because of hindsight. I couldn't tell you what actually healed me. There were so many things that happened that did it. I mean, there's definitely things that were a lot more like facilitated it a little bit easier. But so this Tarot School for Liberation for a lot of people is so important because we're told all the time that you're the problem. And it's not that, like we said, it's not that sometimes you aren't the problem, but sometimes it's not you that's the problem. Sometimes, you know, like I have to tell some people, like, man, sorry, sometimes we born in the time period we don't want to be in, so we're just gonna have to like work on where we are right now, you know. So you wrote about majors in this Tarot for Liberation. You wrote that the majors, you like reframed it for this liberating or this, you know, kind of social justice mindset. And I can see where that would be in the Devil, definitely, the Tower, the Emperor, obviously. But like, what would you say about ones that were a bit more soft or ones that we want? Like, how would you see the Empress in this kind of liberating construct?
Yeah, so I think that's an interesting question about the Empress because people tend to be really heteronormative and like really married to like very traditional gender roles with the Empress. They're like, oh, motherhood, you must be getting pregnant. Whereas to me, you know, thinking about the astrological association of the Empress um as being Earth and relating to Venus, um, we see in like the Smith Rider Waite, there's this like lush landscape around this person. And what I think about the Empress is the Empress knows how to hold their own. And they have really good boundaries. They have an awareness of where their capacity is at. And they aren't available for they're not available like to drain themselves in order to make someone else happy. So a lot of times to me when the Empress comes up, it's like what are you doing to sustain yourself and to prevent burnout, you know? And I think that can be really liberating within that. And then, you know, people always think of like the Empress and Emperor as like the mother and father, but really like a lot of times the Empress shows up when you need more resources. And you oftentimes like don't believe that you deserve them. And you know, I think also the Empress can be you know, like it can represent like a mother wound or like an ancestral wound as well that comes up, but it is an opportunity to forgive yourself um and to be aware of what context you're living in. There was something about what you said that reminded me when you were talking about like I don't know where my healing came from. It's subtle. I saw this TikTok like a few months ago where someone said, you know, healing doesn't mean that you like are doing everything perfectly. It means you can look at yourself like a past you when you were being the most horrible, awful, wounded person and to love that person. And I like just immediately started crying because I was like, that is so hard.
Yes.
I think that actually that is sort of one of the teachings of the Empress is to accept the reality. And kind of like what you were saying, there's something else you said that made me think, you know, you and oftentimes like I think about this when someone harms me or when someone has hurt me. I'm like that those or when I've caused harm, you know, those were the tools that myself or that person had at that moment. They were working with the tools they had. I've been rethinking that now because I think that people that are perpetually manipulative, um, I guess that is their tool. I guess that is their tool. But you know, we don't have to accept those tools. So that's another thing. The Empress doesn't accept, you know, like somebody's manipulative toolkit that they're using. Like, the Empress is very much about being in your integrity.
Thank you for joining us, and until next time, as above, so below, blessed be.